sewing friends, welcome to my sewing room. My name is Beth, and if you're new, welcome. Today I am making a super quick quilt top. I thought it would take me one afternoon, and I was going to title this One Quilt in One Afternoon, but it actually only took me a little over 2 hours. I started at 1 o'clock this afternoon, and before you know it, my quilt top was ready to go. So I'm starting with 2 yards of fabric. I have this print here that is not my favorite. It is kind of cute, but it was free, and free is the key word here. And it's always nice to use up some fabric that's been given to me. And I think a little boy is just going to love these trains, this bright, happy fabric. So I am cutting 6 strips that are 5.5 inches wide out of this yard of fabric, and then I will do the same with the red fabric. So I had a yard of the train print and 1 yard of the red print, and I have a ½ yard of this green and a ½ yard of the other sort of solid color. I will be cutting 6 strips that are 3 inches wide out of this ½ yard of fabric. Here is my other fabric for my 3-inch strips. Again, I'm cutting 6 strips that are 3 inches wide, and these are all cut the width of the fabric. First thing I'm going to do after getting all of my strips cut is to attach those 2 smaller strips together, a green and this other fabric is sort of a gray color, and I'm going to put all of these 6 strips of each together in pairs of 2, 1 green and 1 gray. Once I had those 6 strip sets pressed, I sat down to my machine, and I'm going to add one of those wide red pieces of fabric, those long 5.5 inch strips, to the green strip on all of those strip sets. I should now have 6 of these long pieces of fabric with these 3 different colors, the red, the green, and the gray. And I have one more long piece to add, and that is the train fabric. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the train fabric to the red side on 3 of these sets, and then I will add the train fabric to the gray side with the other strip sets. After getting everything pressed, I now have 6 of these long pieces of strip sets. There are 3 and 3 with just that train on opposite sides. And the first thing I did is I have 2 layers here of these strip sets actually. I'm going to give myself a straight edge, and then I'm going to cut these strip sets into chunks of 10 inches each, and I should have just a little bit of fabric left over on the end. Here are my 2 sets of strip sets. I've got 12 of each, and I'm going to lay them out on the floor, and I'll show you what they look like. And here I was trying to show how the train fabric is on opposite ends. And before I lay out my quilt, I wanted to show you if you put the train fabric just on one side, what it might look like. This is why I decided to put the train fabric on both sides, because I just thought that this was a little bit too predictable. I just didn't like the green and the gray coming through the middle of all of those blocks, so I just changed it just a little bit. And this is what it would look like if you just put the train fabric next to that gray fabric, and which is fine, but I wanted to change it just a little bit. So I took some of the blocks that I made, the other set of blocks that have the train fabric next to the red, and this is how I laid out my quilt. So I'm alternating rows. That first row on the top has the train fabric next to the gray, and the second row has the train fabric next to the red. When everything was laid out on the floor and I had it organized, I sat down at my machine to piece each row, and I realized it hadn't been but only a little more than an hour since I started making this quilt that I thought might take me all afternoon. It didn't take long at all to get those long rows pieced together, and this quilt was complete. This quilt top is complete. This is a donation quilt. I picked up the fabric to make this quilt at my local guild today, and they collect quilts and they donate them to different organizations in our area. So it was fun to put this together. I didn't have to make any decisions, any fabric decisions. It was all there in the bag for me, ready to go. I just needed to figure out how I would sew it together, and this was a really easy way to do it. It's now been just a little more than 2 hours, and I have a quilt top ready to go. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.